Tell me if you've heard this before. You're in a conference room watching someone else get the promotion you've been toiling away at for years. They've got half your technical knowledge, a quarter of the experience, and somehow they just get people. Even if you've been productive improving spreadsheets, they've been productive on something entirely different. Here's a secret nobody is telling you. The most successful people in every field aren't doing it through sheer force of brain power or hard work. They're the ones who have broken a code that most of us don't even know exists. And today, I'm going to demonstrate to you what that code is and, more importantly, how to effectively apply it to transform the course and outlook of your career, your relationships, and your entire approach to success. But first, let me destroy a myth that's probably holding you back right now. The empathy delusion that's sabotaging your success. For decades, we've been sold a lie about empathy. We've been told it's this warm, fuzzy, nice-to-have soft skill that some people are naturally blessed with. Corporate America has packaged it as emotional intelligence workshops and team-building exercises where you share your feelings and eat stale donuts. Here's the brutal truth. That's not empathy. That's performance art. Real empathy isn't about being nice. It's about being strategically human in a world that's forgotten how. Think about this. A new study by McKinsey found that companies with leaders who show a lot of empathy do 50% better in important business areas compared to other companies. We're talking revenue, innovation, employee retention, the stuff that actually matters on your P&L. Yet 73% of professionals still believe empathy will make them look weak or indecisive. They are deciding to limit their own potential because they have mixed up empathy with being weak. But what if I told you that the most ruthlessly effective leaders, negotiators, and influencers aren't succeeding despite their empathy? They're succeeding because of a very specific type of empathy that most people have never learned. What if empathy isn't the opposite of being strategic? What if it is the strategy? The neuroscience revolution, your brain's hidden superpower. Here's where it gets fascinating. MIT just published research that completely rewrites what we know about empathy and success. They discovered that when you genuinely understand someone else's perspective, your brain doesn't just mirror their emotions, it literally rewires itself to make better decisions. The anterior cingulate cortex, which is like your brain's main decision-making area, works much better when you really understand and care about others' feelings. You process information faster, spot patterns others miss, and make choices that seem almost psychic in their accuracy. But here's the catch. This isn't just about luck with your genes. It's a skill you can build. Dr. Tanya Singer's groundbreaking studies at the Max Planck Institute proved that focused empathy training changes brain structure in as little as 6 weeks. Participants showed increased gray matter density in areas responsible for emotional regulation, perspective taking, and, get this, strategic planning. Think about that for a second. The same neural pathways that help you understand others are the ones that make you a better strategist, negotiator, and leader. This isn't feel-good psychology. This is hard science revealing a competitive advantage that's been hiding in plain sight. 4 pillars of strategic empathy. Now that you know the science, let's move on to the plan. Real empathy, the kind that actually makes a difference, is built on 4 key foundations. Pillar 1, cognitive empathy, the mind reader's edge. This isn't about feeling what others feel, it's about understanding how they think, what drives their decisions, and what fears keep them up at night. When Reed Hastings was building Netflix, he didn't just think about what customers wanted. He understood why they were frustrated with Blockbuster. Late fees weren't just annoying, they made people feel stupid and manipulated. Netflix didn't just solve a business problem, they solved an emotional one. Pillar 2, compassionate empathy, the trust accelerator. This is where you genuinely care about others' well-being, not because it's nice, but because trust is the currency of influence. When people believe you have their best interests at heart, they'll follow you anywhere. Satya Nadella transformed Microsoft not by being the smartest person in the room, but by being the one who made everyone else feel heard and valued. Revenue tripled under his leadership. Coincidence? Hardly. Pillar 3. Behavioral empathy, the action catalyst. Understanding and caring mean nothing without action. This is about adapting your communication, your approach, and your solutions to match what others actually need, not what you think they need. Pillar 4. Systemic empathy, the pattern detective. This is the advanced level. You start seeing the underlying systems, pressures, and dynamics that shape behavior. You stop focusing on the symptoms and begin working on the real problems causing them. Master these 4 pillars, and you don't just become more empathetic, you become more powerful. The empathy paradox. Why nice people finish last and empathetic people win. Here's where most people get confused. They think empathy means being agreeable, accommodating, and conflict-averse. That's not empathy, that's people-pleasing, and it's career suicide. Real empathy often requires difficult conversations, hard truths, and uncomfortable decisions. The difference is that you approach these situations from a place of genuine understanding rather than self-interest. Let me give you an example. 2 managers need to deliver bad news to their team about budget cuts. Manager A, the nice one, beats around the bush, offers false hope, and tries to soften the blow. The team leaves confused, anxious, and distrustful. Manager B, the empathetic one, understands that uncertainty is more painful than bad news. They deliver the information clearly, acknowledge the emotional impact, and immediately pivot to what they can control moving forward. Same information, radically different outcomes. One approach creates chaos, the other creates clarity and trust. The empathetic manager isn't nicer. They're more effective because they understand what their team actually needs in that moment. The 7 empathy accelerators that transform careers. Ready for the practical stuff? Here are 7 specific techniques that high performers use to leverage empathy for competitive advantage. Accelerator 1. The assumption audit. Every interaction you're operating from assumptions about what others think, feel, and want. Most of these assumptions are wrong. Set your phone to give you alerts at 3 different times throughout the day. When it triggers, ask yourself, what can I expect about this person's motivations? Then test it. Harvard Business School tracked executives who did this for 30 days. Their accuracy in predicting others' responses improved by 40%. In negotiations, they achieved 23% better outcomes. Accelerator 2. The perspective ladder. When someone's behavior doesn't make sense to you, climb the perspective ladder. Level 1. What are they thinking right now? Level 2. What pressures are they under that I can't see? Level 3. What past experiences might be shaping this reaction? Level 4. What would I do in their exact situation with their exact constraints? This isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about understanding the system that created it so you can influence it more effectively. Accelerator 3. The emotional labeling protocol. When tension rises, most people either ignore it or try to logic their way through it. Both approaches fail because emotion drives behavior more than logic ever will. Instead, name what's happening. I'm sensing frustration here, or this feels like we're all concerned about the timeline. UCLA's research shows this simple act reduces amygdala activation by up to 50%. You're literally helping everyone's brain switch from fight or flight to problem-solving mode. Accelerator 4. The value translation matrix. People don't allergy alteration itself. They don't icon when alteration is compulsory upon them. The key is translating your agenda into their values. Before any important conversation, write down what you want, what they want, where these interests overlap, how you can frame your request in terms of their priorities. When Airbnb was struggling with city regulations, they didn't argue about property rights. They talked about economic opportunity for middle-class families. Same agenda, different frame, vastly different results. Accelerator 5, the micro-validation loop. Most people are validation-starved. They make decisions, share ideas, and take risks hoping someone will notice and acknowledge their contribution. Create some moments to show that you're listening. Say things like, "That sounds like a good point," or "I hadn't thought of that before." This isn't manipulation, it's recognition. Accelerator 6, the pressure release valve. Learn to release pressure proactively. This is a lot to process. What questions are coming up for you? Or, "I know this timeline feels aggressive. What concerns should we address first?" You're not avoiding difficult topics. You're creating space for people to engage with them productively. Accelerator 7, the future pull technique. Instead of pushing people away from what they don't want, pull them toward what they do want. What would success look like if we nail this project is infinitely more motivating than, "Here's why we can't afford to fail." Same information, opposite energy. One creates anxiety and compliance. The other creates excitement and commitment. The dark side, when empathy becomes your weakness. Here's what the motivational speakers won't tell you. Empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. There are 3 empathy traps that can sabotage your success if you're not careful. Trap 1, emotional contagion. You absorb everyone else's stress, anxiety, and negativity until you're paralyzed by feelings that aren't even yours. You become the emotional dumping ground for your team, your clients, your family. The antidote? Emotional firewalls. You can understand someone's anxiety without taking it on. You can be compassionate about their stress without making it your own. Trap 2, the savior complex. You become so invested in helping others that you neglect your own goals, boundaries, and well-being. You're not empathetic, you're codependent. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't being self-centralized. It's important for being a leader who can display real care and understanding over time. Trap 3, analysis paralysis. You understand everyone's perspective so well that you can't make decisions. Every choice feels wrong because it might disappoint someone. Empathy informs good decisions. It doesn't replace them. Sometimes being empathetic means making choices that some people won't like, but that serve the greater good. The empathy implementation system. Knowing these concepts won't change your life. Implementing them will. Here's a simple system to build empathetic habits that stick. First 2 weeks is the foundation phase. Focus on one accelerator. I suggest beginning with the assumption audit. It's easy to start but can make a big difference. Track 1 metric. How often were your assumptions about others' motivations correct? Target 70% accuracy by the end of week 2. Week 3 to 4, the expansion phase. Add the emotional labeling protocol. New metric. How often do tense conversations become productive after you name the emotion? Target 8 out of 10 interactions. Week 5 to 6 is about the integration phase. Layer in the value translation matrix. Metric. Percentage of requests that get immediate buy-in versus pushback. Target 60% immediate buy-in, up from typical 20 to 30%. Week 7 to 8, the mastery phase. Deploy all accelerators situationally. Final metric. Overall relationship quality and influence, measured by how often people seek your input on important decisions. The key is consistent practice, not perfect execution. You're rewiring neural pathways that have been set for years. Be patient with the process. The real-world results. What changes when you master empathic success? Let me share what actually happens when you implement this system correctly. Month 1. The trust dividend. People start coming to you with their real problems, not just the surface-level stuff. They trust you with information that gives you strategic advantages others don't have. Month 2. The influence multiplier. Your ideas start getting adopted faster. Not because they're necessarily better, but because people feel heard and understood in the process of considering them. Month 3. The leadership recognition. You become the person others look to in crisis situations. Your ability to understand all perspectives and find solutions that work for everyone makes you indispensable. Month 6. The career acceleration opportunities start finding you. People recommend you for roles, projects, and partnerships because they know you'll consider everyone's interests and deliver results that stick. This isn't theory. This is what I've watched happen with hundreds of professionals who've implemented these principles. The empathy advantage in different contexts. Let me show you how this plays out across different professional scenarios. In sales and business development, instead of pushing features and benefits, you understand the emotional and political dynamics of your prospect's decision-making process. Result? Higher close rates, larger deals, longer client relationships. In leadership and management, you stop managing tasks and start leading humans. You understand what motivates each team member individually and create conditions for them to do their best work. Result? Lower turnover, higher performance, teams that actually want to work with you. In innovation and problem solving, you design solutions that work for real people in real situations, not just theoretical scenarios. You understand the human factors that make or break implementation. Result? Products and processes that actually get adopted and stick. In negotiation and conflict resolution, you find win-win solutions others miss because you understand what each party really needs, as opposed to what they say they want. Result? Deals that last, relationships that strengthen through conflict, reputation as someone who gets things done. The common empathy mistakes that kill your credibility. Before we wrap up, let's address the mistakes that well-intentioned people make when trying to be more empathetic. Mistake 1. Emotional mirroring. Matching someone's emotional energy doesn't help. It amplifies dysfunction. If they're panicked, you being panicked too just creates chaos. Better approach: stay calm and regulated while acknowledging their emotional state. Mistake 2. Over-explaining. When someone's upset, resist the urge to explain why their feelings are wrong or illogical. Feelings aren't logical, they're information. Better approach: understand first, educate later, if at all. Mistake 3. False empathy. Pretending to care or understand when you don't is worse than being honestly neutral. People can sense authenticity, and fake empathy destroys trust permanently. A better way to say it is, I don't completely understand your scene, but I can tell this is really important to you. Help me get it. Mistake 4. Empathy without action. Understanding without appropriate action is just sophisticated indifference. Empathy must lead to better decisions and behaviors. Better approach: now that I understand the situation, here's what I'm going to do. Your empathy action plan. Here's exactly how to start implementing this tomorrow. Morning ritual, 5 minutes. Review your calendar and identify 3 interactions where empathy could make a difference. For each one, write down: what might this person be thinking, feeling? What do they need from this interaction? How can I show up in a way that serves both of us? Midday check-in, 2 minutes. Ask yourself, what assumptions have I made about people's motivations today? How can I test them? Evening reflection, 3 minutes. Identify one moment where you could have been more empathetic and one where your empathy created a better outcome. Learn from both. Weekly deep dive to 20 minutes. Choose one relationship that's important to your success but currently challenging. Use the perspective ladder to understand their position more deeply. Plan one specific action to improve the dynamic. That's 10 minutes each day that can change your career for the better. The multiplier effect. Empathy as force multiplication. Here's the final piece most people miss. Empathy isn't just about individual interactions. It's about creating systems and cultures where everyone performs better. When you consistently operate from empathetic understanding, meetings become more productive because people feel safe to share real concerns. Projects move faster because you've addressed human factors up front. Innovation increases because diverse perspectives are genuinely considered. Retention improves because people feel valued and understood. You become what I call a force multiplier, someone who makes everyone around them more effective. And in a world where technical skills are increasingly commoditized, the ability to unlock human potential becomes your ultimate competitive advantage. Your empathic success. Blueprint. Let's lock this in. Everything we've covered today can be distilled into 3 core principles. Principle 1. Empathy is strategy. It's not a gentle skill, it's a strong skill that actually assists a business prospering in real ways. Principle 2. Understanding precedes influence. You can't move people until you know what moves them. Invest time in genuine understanding before you try to persuade, negotiate, or lead. Principle 3. Empathy requires practice. Like any skill, empathy gets stronger with deliberate practice. Use the 7 accelerators daily, track your progress, and be patient with your growth. The world doesn't need more people who are good at spreadsheets or who can optimize processes. We have AI for that now. The world inevitably people who can deduce the complicated, messy, and beautiful way humans allow and act. People who can build bridges between different perspectives. People who can create conditions where everyone does their best work. That's your opportunity. That's your path to empathic success. The question isn't whether you're naturally empathetic. The question is whether you're willing to develop empathy as a strategic capability. As the world picks up more robotic, more data deep, and more digital every day, the experts who really deduce and exercise human skills will not only observe up, they'll commitment really well. Your empathy journey starts now. Not next Monday, not after the next promotion, not when you have more time. Now. Because the people who are going to define the future of work aren't just the smartest or the most driven. They're the ones who remember that behind every email, every decision, every spreadsheet, there's a human being trying to do their best work and live a meaningful life. Master that understanding, and you don't just change your career, you change everything.